Welcome to RS/Payback. Deployment life has its rhythms. Wake up early, run your checks, eat questionable eggs, and prepare for another day in the Dust Bowl. Days blur together in routine. Patrols, maintenance, and the occasional game of cards when we're lucky. For most of us, monotony is a blessing. No surprises means no chaos. One of the less glamorous duties my unit was assigned involved the disposal of narcotics. Sounds dramatic, but it was usually nothing more than lighting up garbage bags of stale weed or crushed poppy. We'd douse it in diesel, toss a match, and walk away. No ceremony, no crowd. Just smoke, soot, and a bad smell that stuck to your clothes for days. I'd done it so many times I could have lit one up in my sleep. We never thought much of it until the day we got the haul. Something about that day already felt off. The sky was too still, the radio too quiet. We were all jittery, laughing too hard at dumb jokes. If I had known what was coming, I might have asked to stay behind and mop the showers. But no one had a clue. Not yet. That day was going to be very different. It started like any other operation. We were raiding a suspected narcotics stash house out near the edge of our AO. Intelligence said it'd be a small hit, maybe a few bags, some cash, and paperwork. What we found was something else entirely. In the back of the compound, hidden behind a makeshift wall, we discovered stacks, pallets, of vacuum-sealed bags. The scent hit us before we even unwrapped anything. It was unmistakable. Fresh, sticky, high-grade marijuana. This wasn't cartel trash or backyard shake. This was dispensary quality. Bright green, frosty, pungent. One guy joked, "This stuff's illegal even in California." We just stared at it. A few guys paced around like it was radioactive. 100 thoughts ran through my head. How much it was worth. How much trouble this meant for someone. And, most stupidly, how the hell we were going to get rid of it. Burning it out there, in the open, would have been the obvious play. But someone, I won't name names, suggested we take it back to base. Said it would be safer, less exposure, better control. To our surprise, leadership agreed. Maybe they were tired. Maybe they didn't understand how much weed we were talking about. But with a few radio calls and a nod from command, we were loading Mount Cushmore into the trucks. We thought we were being smart, efficient, tactical. We had no idea we were about to turn the entire base into one big cloud of chaos. Back at base, we unloaded the bags into the burn pit. It was surreal seeing that much weed in one place. Someone joked we could start our own cartel. Another guy said it looked like the Hulk's landscaping project. Everyone was in high spirits. No pun intended. We followed the usual procedure. Diesel poured. Perimeter checked. One guy pulled out a lighter, struck a flame, and casually flicked it toward the pile. Whoosh! The fire caught instantly, bright orange licking up the sides of the stack like it was made of paper. The smoke thickened fast, dense and dark with a greenish hue. We stood around, watching like it was some kind of bonfire party. Jokes flew, phones came out for photos. One guy even saluted the rising smoke column like it was the national flag. "Rest in peace, Chiba," someone said, and we all laughed. Then the wind shifted. It was subtle at first, just a slow nudge in the opposite direction. The thick plume, once floating straight up, began leaning sideways. We all followed it with our eyes as it lazily rolled toward the east side of the base. "Huh," someone muttered, watching the smoke push past the motor pool. No one said it, but we all thought the same thing. That's not ideal. But still, we didn't panic. Not yet. After all, it's just smoke, right? What harm could it possibly cause? Spoiler alert, a lot. The first call came in from Tower 1, and it was weird. Base command. This is Tower 1. I think I'm seeing waves. Waves? Like sound waves, in the air. They're beautiful. We all laughed. Typical tower boredom, right? Maybe he was just messing around. But then a second voice chimed in from his tower partner. Can we get some airflow in here? It's getting really philosophical. Philosophical? We figured they were just being dramatic. Or maybe they'd gotten a whiff of something strong. Either way, nobody panicked. Someone jokingly called out, Tower 1's tripping, and we moved on. That was mistake number 1. 10 minutes later, Tower 2 radioed in. This time, there was no laughter. Base command, we have a situation. The private up here keeps asking if time is a real thing. There was a pause. Also, he hasn't stopped smiling for 5 minutes. I think he might be broken. That's when we started to feel it too. At first, it was subtle. My legs felt heavy, my face warm. I laughed, out loud, at a rock shaped vaguely like a potato. Then I realized I hadn't stopped smiling either. My arms tingled. I tried to speak but forgot what words were supposed to sound like. One by one, the guys around me started slowing down, talking less, blinking more. Someone dropped a wrench and stared at it like it was ancient technology. I looked back at the smoke, now blanketing the far side of the base, and I finally understood. We were in trouble. The smoke didn't just stop at the towers. It rolled over the entire base like a lazy green fog, slipping into every corner and crevice. The motor pool? Fogged. Mess hall? Fogged. Command post? Double fogged. At first, people tried to act normal, but the signs were impossible to miss. A squad leader was wandering the mess hall, attempting to bark orders while giggling uncontrollably. One guy tried to radio in a report, but forgot his own name halfway through. I spotted a corporal leaning against a Humvee, eyes half closed, petting a stray dog like it was a therapy animal. Another soldier was carefully examining a can of beans, nodding like it had just delivered the meaning of life. Keep it together, I told myself. Tried to stay sharp, tried to organize patrols, keep radio discipline, but inside I was unraveling. Words felt thick on my tongue. My thoughts slowed like syrup. The smallest things became hilarious. I caught myself staring at a shovel for a full minute, wondering how something so boring could be so fascinating. The base had turned into one big buzzing cloud of confusion, and everyone was floating along for the ride. I glanced around, saw my team slouching, smirking, eyes glazed over. It wasn't just a little contact high. It was a full-on situation. I tried to rally everyone, to get a grip on things, but it was hopeless. The smoke had taken over, and by the time I realized we were done for, the chaos was already in full bloom. It didn't take long for the higher-ups to catch on. The CO and his staff started emerging from the command post, blinking like they'd just woken up from a nap. One colonel stood frozen, staring into the distance as if the secrets of the universe were hiding behind the barracks. Another major approached the communications tent, then promptly forgot why he was there. He just stared at the radio, scratching his head. I tried to keep it together. Straightened my posture, cleared my throat, tried to sound normal when I reported in, but my voice cracked like I'd just run a mile. Sir, the smoke from the burn pit is affecting the entire base, I said. My words hung heavy in the air. That's when the sergeant major appeared, face tight with concern. His usual no-nonsense demeanor was cracked by a confused blink and a twitch at the corner of his mouth. He looked at me, then the burning pit, then back at me. Who approved this? The tension skyrocketed. Everyone's smiles faded, replaced by stammering and awkward shuffles. I knew this was bad. Real bad. I tried to explain, but my words felt clumsy and slow, like I was speaking underwater. The sergeant major's eyes narrowed. This better be fixed. Now. That was the moment I realized this was no longer a joke. The entire base was compromised, and I was at the center of it all. The sergeant major wasn't having any of it. He stepped forward, eyes sharp, voice booming across the smoky yard. "Who approved this burn?" My heart hammered in my chest. I knew the truth was coming out, and there was no hiding it. I took a shaky breath and confessed everything. The huge stash, the decision to burn it at the base, the smoke spreading everywhere. "I thought it was safer," I stammered. "We'd burn it here, avoid risks in the field." The sergeant major stared at me, eyebrows raised like I'd just dropped a grenade into his lap. Then something shifted. He blinked, rubbed his nose, and let out a low chuckle. That's when I realized the joke was on all of us. Leadership wasn't immune to the effects of the smoke. Their sharp eyes were glazed. Their crisp uniforms looked a little less crisp. The tension broke for a split second. Then a senior officer coughed and said, "All right, maybe this isn't the best time for a full-on reprimand." Someone joked, "At least the enemy won't stand a chance if we're all this relaxed." It was clear the situation was delicate. They couldn't escalate it or make a scene. So the decision was made. Quietly contain the problem. Get everyone back to normal without anyone outside the base knowing what happened. Orders went out for the smoke to be put out and for personnel to stay calm and carry on like nothing was wrong. I felt the weight of responsibility like never before. This was a disaster, but we had to manage it before it got worse. And somehow, amidst the confusion and giggles, we had to keep the military running. The smoke's grip tightened, and suddenly, no one could remember a single protocol. The once sharp and disciplined base turned into a carnival of laughter and confusion. Soldiers were sprawled on benches, debating the meaning of life and whether a chair could be considered a thinking device. One squad was having a deep, philosophical discussion about a bug crawling across the pavement, convinced it was on a spiritual journey. Patrol shifts? Forgotten? Orders lost in the haze? The mess hall became a scene of giggling chaos as soldiers tried to eat and talk at the same time, often failing at both. One medic was caught red-handed in the clinic, stress-eating Skittles like they were life-saving medicine. He shrugged when confronted, eyes twinkling. It's important to keep your spirits up. Radio communication was a jumble of static, laughter, and nonsense. Attempts to organize quickly fell apart as everyone tried and failed to focus. It was like the base was a giant, slow-moving cloud of confusion. Even the officers were laughing behind their hands, trying not to lose it while maintaining some semblance of order. Despite the chaos, there was a strange calm, like everyone was united in their shared foggy experience. But underneath the laughter and goofiness was the serious truth. No mission could be accomplished like this. We needed to clear the air, literally and figuratively, and get back to work before things got completely out of hand. For now, though, we were stuck in the most surreal day of deployment ever. After what felt like hours, the smoke finally began to clear. The thick haze that had wrapped the base like a fog lifted slowly, revealing a quiet, changed place. Soldiers shuffled around, rubbing their eyes and yawning, the goofy smiles fading as reality crept back in. I took a slow walk through the base, noticing the tired, sheepish faces everywhere. No one said a word about what had happened. No one needed to. Instead, there were knowing glances, brief looks exchanged that said, "We all know what went down." In the mess hall, a few whispered jokes floated through the air, but they quickly died as someone caught a serious stare. It was like an unspoken rule had formed overnight. No official discussion allowed. The usual crisp discipline was still there, but a lightness lingered, like a secret joke shared between old friends. By morning, rumors had already started flying. Some swore the leadership had been so high they didn't even recognize their own uniforms. Others claimed they saw officers giggling behind closed doors. And somewhere, someone joked that the whole operation could have been a giant test on how to handle chemical warfare. Accidentally. But for all the stories and jokes, no one officially mentioned it. The burn pit was quiet again, but it had left a mark. One no one would forget anytime soon. It was a day the military base was, in the most unexpected way, a little more human. And that truth hung in the air, thick as the smoke that had finally vanished. Leadership gathered quietly that morning, the weight of the previous day hanging heavily in the room. After long, serious talks, a decision was made. This incident would never reach higher command. It was a silent agreement. No reports, no blame, no punishment. Everyone understood the importance of keeping this under wraps for the good of the unit and the mission. The atmosphere was strange, part relief, part awkwardness. I went through my normal duties but felt the invisible eyes watching, waiting for any sign of weakness. One afternoon, while digging through a stack of mission reports, I found something unexpected. A simple, smiley face doodled in the margin of the report about the burn pit. It was subtle, but spoke volumes, leadership's quiet way of acknowledging the chaos without words. That small mark was a reminder that even in the strictest military life, mistakes happen, and sometimes you just have to laugh. Looking back, I realized we'd all learned a lesson about responsibility, risk, and maybe how to handle unexpected smoke signals. But like any good story, the lesson was only half learned, because deep down everyone knew this was a story to keep close, shared only in hushed conversations or late-night jokes. And the next time a decision like that came up, well, maybe we'd think twice before turning the whole base into a giant smoke machine again. For now, though, the silent agreement held, and life on deployment moved forward, slightly more cautious and a little more colorful. That wraps up today's episode of R/Payback. If you enjoyed the ride, don't forget to subscribe for more epic stories.